Here's the thing with Mario Party. Everyone's favorite is the one that they grew up with. Even if it's objectively worse, that doesn't seem to change anyone's opinion. But you see, I've actually played every Mario Party title pretty thoroughly, so I feel like I can at least attempt to keep my bias out of the picture and focus on which ones have the best minigames, boards, and extra side content. So with that said, let's get her ranked. 16. Mario Party 10, the only Wii U Mario Party game. And as we know, lots of Wii U games turned out, not so great. I mean, just look at the menu. Could this possibly be more bland and generic? This was a phase where Mario Party didn't actually play like normal Mario Party. Everyone moves around in a car and hits dice blocks to move forward. You collect mini stars and move with everyone at once. One of the new features is Bowser is trapped in the gamepad and he's unlocked from certain dice rolls. The person that breaks him free loses half of their mini stars. The issue with this whole concept is there's no strategy involved with the boards. The boards themselves are very linear, and since we can't pick routes to take on our own or just buy our own stars, it takes away the elements of strategy and destroys the entire experience. And that's just one mode. Bowser Party is somehow worse. It's basically the same as Mario Party, but one player controls Bowser. And Bowser is OP as hell. He rolls several dice blocks at once and it's nearly impossible to win. But what about the Amiibo mode? Yeah, that's kind of like a normal Mario Party, except you have to have an Amiibo to play it, which is pretty bullcrap. And the boards are super boring with no alternate paths, item shops, or anything of interest. The only positive thing I can say about this game are the mini games. There's some pretty good ones in here, but that can be said for almost all the Mario Party games. The mini games don't work if the board game experience is atrocious. 15. Mario Party The Top 100. How they managed to take an amazing idea and completely ruin it is beyond me, but that's what the Top 100 did. Take 100 minigames from the past and compile them all together as a celebration. This should have been a home run, and in a way, I guess it kind of is. A lot of the minigames they picked are classics, including Shy Guy Says, Bumper Balls, Hexagon Heat, Book Squirm, and many others. But that's all there is. There's a minigame island to play them all on, but if you were thinking they'd bring back old boards, then you're surely mistaken. There is a total of 1 board to play on, and it's not even a retro board. Everyone moves at the same time and you randomly play minigames. It baffles me that there isn't a selection of at least 5 or 6 of the classic boards. That just defeats the whole purpose of this game existing. You can't just celebrate half of a game and expect it to be fine. 14. Mario Party 9. This was the beginning of the car phase, and I wasn't having any of it. And you know, I gave this game an honest chance, I really did. You move around in a car collecting mini stars, and since you all move at the same time, it defeats any semblance of strategy. So basically, it's the same as Mario Party 10, but slightly better. And that's only because the Bowser Party mode isn't here. Like really, it was that broken. But Bowser is still kind of dumb in Mario Party 9. When you do run into him, he's not much of a threat like he used to be. And the only items you can get now are dice blocks. It's like all the creativity and fun from the older games were just sucked out completely. Look, I get that they were trying something new, but it just doesn't work at all. I think the whole idea was to make the boards go by faster, which technically they do, but it's so monotonous to play that it feels like boards actually take longer than ever. The mini games are decent enough and I like the character roster, but that's all it has going for it. Like the Top 100, you need good boards and rules to go along with good mini games to make for a good game. 13. Mario Party Island Tour. By far the most forgettable Mario Party of all time. Instead of having one rule set for boards, this time all the boards play differently. On one hand, that's nice that they're trying out a bunch of different things, but on the other hand, none of the boards are all that great. For Bonsai Bill and Rocket Road, you're basically just going in a straight line, with some chances of getting knocked further back. Kamek's Carpet Ride is an interesting idea since it uses cards to move instead of dice blocks, but it's just not fleshed out enough. The minigames are at least great still, and there are a lot of them. 81 is a pretty sizable amount of brand new minigames. There's some fun to be had in a couple of boards, but not a lot. 12. Mario Party Star Rush. It's fairly similar to Island Tour, although the boards themselves are a bit more fun to play. Toad Scramble has 15 boards. Each of them look a bit different and have tweaked layouts. Everybody moves at the same time, and the goal is to collect stars. That's right, a modern Mario Party where you actually get your own stars. It's not quite as good though, seeing as everyone moves at the same time. The stars are obtained from winning bosses, and the mini games aren't as consistent. Speaking of mini games, there's only a little over 50, which is surprising considering Island Tour had way more. Balloon Bash is similar to Toad Scramble. The boards are smaller and you collect star balloons, so that adds a tiny layer of depth. There's also the Coinathlon mode where the goal is to collect the most coins, which has its fun moments, but everything else is really undercooked. Mario Shuffle requires amiibo and is just rolling a dice over and over, and Rhythm Recital should have just been its own minigame instead. You see, Balloon Bash kind of had the right idea. It's too bad all the focus wasn't on that instead of being spread thin around the other game modes. 11. Mario Party Advance. I know, I'm surprised I'm placing this game so high as well. This almost doesn't count as a Mario Party game because it's not meant to be multiplayer focused. Instead, it's all about the single player. But then I actually played it this year, and I thoroughly enjoyed the campaign mode. You basically go around completing a bunch of side quests. I know, sounds boring, but the writing is really well done and quite hilarious at times. You may only have 4 characters to pick from, but some side quests have exclusive character quests, so it offers some replay value. It does suck that the only way to make it far in single player is to master all the minigames to keep getting dice rolls, but once you do master them, you can play for quite a while. The minigames are decent as well, although they don't hold up compared to the console games. I do wish that there was a way to just play normal Mario Party with friends, but this is also the GBA we're talking about, so I can understand why this wasn't possible. The widgets are fun to unlock too, but they aren't really worth anything. We'll never get a Mario Party like this again, so at the very least, I can appreciate how unique it is. 10. Super Mario Party. Finally, a return to form! Somewhat. I have many conflicting thoughts with Super Mario Party, because its main mode plays like classic Mario Party, which is awesome. But then there's also all these side modes like River Survival and Soundstage, which reminds me of the 3DS Mario Party games, and even the main mode has these weird problems as well. Like, why do stars only cost 10 coins instead of 20? And why does everyone win coins from a minigame even if you get last place? And don't even get me started on how OP the gold pipes are. It's like they wanted to bring back classic Mario Party like everyone has been asking, but they just couldn't pull away completely. The game can be good fun, but it's just not as good as it should be. And I even like the boards despite some of them being a bit linear, and most of the minigames are a blast. But of course there's the issue of there only being 4 boards. That is pathetic when the original games on the N64 had more than that. And don't even get me started on that online mode. We were teased with finally getting online for Mario Party, but instead we have a laggy mess where you can only play a handful of the minigames. This is at least a step in the right direction, but the older games are still a lot better than this one. 9. Mario Party 8. We're finally at the first of the classic Mario Party titles. Mario Party 8 is simple. You collect coins to try to buy stars. After everyone rolls, you play a mini-game and rinse and repeat. Unfortunately, the boards aren't the greatest in Mario Party 8. Goomba's Booty Boardwalk and Shy Guy's Perplex Express are extremely linear, which removes a lot of the strategy that would normally be had. But all the boards themselves have interesting spaces. There's a bunch of them from previous games like Blue, Red, Happening, Bowser, and the DK space. These really spice up each roll, especially the Happening space, since something board specific will happen and it can alter the game completely. There's lots of candies you can buy too to add more chaos to the board. I like the mini games as well. Some of them use motion controls and some of them use normal controls. It's a decent mix of both. But the best part of Mario Party 8 by far is Koopa's Tycoon Town. This is a board where instead of buying stars, you buy buildings which are worth stars. The more money you invest into a building, the more stars you'll earn. This is insanely cool because you have to plan out which buildings to invest in, as well as how much money to put into it. And you have to be careful because your building can very easily be bought out by other players. This board is incredible and is probably the best Mario Party board of all time. And I haven't even touched on the extra side modes on top of the solid character roster. 8. Mario Party 7. The GameCube parties were all fairly similar, but there's enough differences in each that are worth talking about. All the boards are pretty fun, the standout being Pagoda Peak. And what's interesting is that this one is actually fairly linear, but it actually works because of how well paced it is. Because of the size of the board, you'll climb up quite a few times in a game and have lots of chances at getting stars. And that's just one version. The objective is actually different depending on if you're playing by yourself or with friends for each board. The orbs are also a lot of fun to use, and the mic minigames are decent. In fact, most of the minigames are pretty great. There's even an 8-player mode where you can play a couple minigames with 8 people. The main issue with Mario Party 7 is that things were getting a bit stale at this point, and the overall game can feel sluggish at times. It's not bad, but there's better options out there. 7. Mario Party 4. This was the first Mario Party I ever played. I'll never forget playing it at a friend's house into the wee hours of the morning. That was when I fell in love with the series, and it's still one of my favorites to this day. Being the first GameCube entrant, the graphic department took a massive leap, and so did the amount of content. There's 6 great boards, tons of items to pick from, and a buttload of extra modes on top of that. The boards may all look the same with a similar ground layout repeated over, but the gameplay has lots of variety for each of them. The main feature is the mini and mega mushrooms, which are sprawled all over these boards. Being mega can allow you to steal coins from players, but you'll also miss out on stars if you run past them. And the mini mushrooms lets you take secret paths, but your dice rolls are also much smaller. Mario Party 4 is home to the best minigame of all time, Booksquirm. And there's even Challenge Booksquirm where you can play as long as you can last. Admittedly, the character roster is lacking, seeing as it wasn't updated for Mario Party 3, and taking the secret orange pipes on the boards can be stupidly difficult. 6. Mario Party 5. So what's different about this one compared to Party 4 and 7? Well, for one, the boards all look much more interesting, so that's a point above the 4th game. The roster is also updated finally, and there's even tag names for each character. Like Mario and Luigi is the Mario Bros, and Daisy and Wario are the mismatched pair. I love that each combination has a unique name. Instead of 6 boards, there's 7 in this one, and all of them have unique playstyles. This is also the first time we got the DK space, which was really weird at the time, but it's a nice change of pace. If you land on it, you get to play a DK minigame and have a chance at some coins or even a free star if you're lucky. Capsules were also introduced and add a ton of elements to how the game can be played. The minigames of course are really great, and there's a couple of bonus ones that are more fleshed out, which is pretty cool. So it's fairly similar to the other GameCube titles, but it has a couple extra perks. 5. Mario Party 6. By far the best GameCube Mario Party. One of its biggest new inclusions is the day and night system. This mechanic not only changes how the board looks, but also how the board plays. I'm shocked this is the only Mario Party with this system because it's an awesome idea that freshens up the board game experience. As an example, for Clockwork Castle, players move around normally in the day, but the direction you move is flipped at night. This is just the normal boards. There's even a few exclusive ones if you're playing solo. The orbs also make a return, and there's a lot of solid minigames to pick from too. Speaking of minigames, this was the first to include mic minigames. By speaking into the mic and saying words, it would interact or change something in the minigame. While it was novel at the time, it's a bit gimmicky nowadays. The sheer amount of variety and content in Mario Party 6 is staggering, and we haven't seen this much smart innovation since. 4. Mario Party DS. I'll never forget when this came out when I was a teenager. After being so disappointed that Mario Party Advance wasn't the normal game on the go, Mario Party DS gave me exactly what I wanted. A full-fledged Mario Party experience that plays on a handheld, and you can link up with other people to play the actual game. The power behind this game is just how dense and fun all the boards are. There's always something interesting happening, which actually fully complements the minigames. Huh, who would have thought that would have worked, huh? My favorite maps were always Wiggler's Garden, Toadette's Music Room, and DK's Stone Statue. The story mode is actually half decent for a party game. Bowser shrinks everyone, and that's the whole premise. This allows for a lot of creativity with how the boards are made, and even the minigames. A lot of the minigames are based on you being tiny. Some have you riding on a clothesline, or even across a sink on soap bars as an example. The only downside is the items for the boards aren't super interesting, but otherwise this game is fantastic. 3. Mario Party 3. Everyone always argues about which of the 3 N64 Mario Parties are the best, and I'd say Mario Party 3 is the worst of the 3. Now yes, we do get more characters to pick from, and the story mode actually has a bit of a story, and while I like all the boards, they're just not super memorable. I always enjoyed Waluigi's Island and Woody Woods a bunch, and the other boards do the job as well. On top of that, there's also a bunch of dual boards, but that can only be played with 2 people, and it doesn't have minigames. The objective is to attack the player's heart gauge instead of collecting stars, which is just okay. And you know what? That's fine. Unlike the modern Mario Party games where the side modes are the entire game, Mario Party 3 also has 6 fully fleshed out boards to play. There are a ton of items to pick from as well, and lots of great minigames, except MPIQ. Like, seriously, what were they thinking with that one? But you can't go wrong with Eats a Pizza, only one of the best Mario Party minigames out there. 2. Mario Party. I know a lot of you are going to disagree, but just hear me out. I think the first Mario Party has a certain charm that none of the other games match. To put it lightly, yeah, this game hates you. Oh, you lost a minigame? Better give everyone your coins. You lost a solo minigame? Let's just take coins from you. Oh, you don't have coins when you talk to Bowser? He'll just take your star instead. The sadistic nature of Mario Party 1 is what makes it so special. There's so much tension when playing with others because the rules are so evil, yet so rewarding when you win. The boards are objectively not that great, but there is a lot of them to pick from. And they're not that great because they're always against you. They're going to make you lose a lot of coins just from the board, but everyone has to go through the pain. And then on top of that, you're competing with everyone, and that gives you a Mario Party experience that isn't like any other. And there are some truly remarkable minigames too, like Mushroom Mix-Up, Buried Treasure, Skateboard Scamper, and Crazy Cutter as an example. Hell, Tug of War causes so much pain to the player that Nintendo had to send everyone gloves due to people getting blisters. And of course, there's Chance Time, which can completely flip the game on its side. You can go from first place to last place in a matter of seconds. Despite all of this, it's a Mario Party that I'm always coming back to, and that's because most games don't have this level of tension and excitement when playing with others. 1. Mario Party 2. It's the one most of us can agree on. It's got a lot of Mario Party 1's minigames, but it basically picked all the good ones and made them better. Bumper Balls has multiple locations, and Bombs Away has a big missile at the end. The characters are more customized this time around too. They all dress up a bit depending on which board you play on. The boards are also a lot more balanced than the first game, and there's so many routes to take. In general though, the original 3 Mario Parties have great boards because most of them offer multiple routes to bring layers of strategy into the game. And all the boards in Mario Party 2 are really memorable and still have their evil moments, such as losing all your coins in Spaceland if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. This was also the first Mario Party to introduce items, and while there isn't a lot of them, they're a blast to have and can really shake things up. Personally, the first Mario Party is still my favorite, but objectively, the second one has a little bit more going for it. I think I can safely say that most of us are stoked for Mario Party Superstars, as it looks like it's going to bring Mario Party back to its best roots. But for now, let's go back to the highest selling Mario Party game and rank all the minigames. I'll be counting all 80 of them. The 4 in Toad's Rec Room won't be included if you're curious. This list is based off how fun and replayable each minigame is. So with that, let's get her ranked. 80. Rattle and Very clever play on words because Rumble goes, It's too bad this minigame is incredibly boring, especially on multiple playthroughs. You have to use the Joy-Con's rumble to figure out which character is causing a racket on stage. You'll feel them all ahead of time, and then have to remember what the rumble felt like. It gets challenging by the end, but the patterns are always the same, and the pacing is extremely slow and drab compared to most minigames. 79. Absent-Minded. This is very similar to Rattle and in which the patterns get way too easy after multiple plays. A bunch of pictures are scrambled on the screen, and it takes about 1 to 2 seconds to realize which character is missing. This is slightly more engaging with human players, but not by much. 78. Don't Wake Wiggler. Probably Super Mario Party's most infamous minigame. You get in line and pet the sleeping Wiggler. The more you pet him, the more irritated he gets. Whoever wakes him up loses, and the winners are determined by those that pet him the most. There is no strategy to this one. You can barely gauge when Wiggler is gonna wake up, and it's a bit startling when he's woken too. I'd hate being a little kid playing this. I'd have nightmares from this minigame. 77. Suit yourselves. Have you ever played card matching? Well, that's what we got here, except you know exactly where the cards are instead of guessing and memorizing their placement. Even when the cards spin, it's stupidly easy to remember where the cards end up. My biggest issue is just how slow the minigame plays out. It feels like an eternity before it ends. 76. Nutcases. Not all the Rumble minigames are bad, but this one is just mediocre at best. You and a partner have to grab boxes and figure out which ones have the most nuts in them. It's a cool idea, but in execution, it's boring to play. And it's a bit annoying when you feel a lot of Rumble in a box, only for it to have like 3 nuts. 75. Lost in the Shuffle. It's confirmed that the inside of Toad is just a smaller Toad, and that Toad has a Toad inside of him. Insane lore aside, you just have to watch for which Toad has the most mini Toads. It's pretty bare bones, even for Mario Party standards. 74. Maths of Glory. This minigame is aesthetically pleasing to feast your eyes on. The puzzle pieces look so real and kind of tasty. But don't get too excited. You just hit a dice block and that number adds up for the amount of cannon shots you get at a puzzle castle. That's it. You're just hitting the dice block and hoping for the best. 73. Lit Potato. Imagine Hot Bob-omb from Mario Party 1, but it chugged that new energy drink E10. The pressure is really on since there's multiple Bob-ombs, and way more people in the circle. The nerves get really unsettling by the end, and it almost gets unfair if players on the other team are next to each other. 72. Senseless Census. Do you like counting? Well, you'll have a grand old time with this one. You're on a train, and all you have to do is count the toads. It sounds simple, but a lot of the butt boys get up and out of their chairs and even run around, making it hard to keep track. I will admit that it's adorable seeing the toads play Perfect Fit from their own Switch. I love that subtle fourth wall breaking, but that's all you really do. Just count the toads. 71. Pull It Together. It's tug of war, but with more players. I'm not sure if my team just sucks or if my Joy-Con is broken, but I feel like I have very little control of winning or losing. I can mash like a and I don't feel like I'm being rewarded for my work here. And it's just not as interesting as having a man-eating plant right in the middle. 70. It's the pits. Well, maybe you'll go down the pits. A red panel rotates around the circle for a few rounds, and whenever it stops, the floor drops, killing everyone underneath it. It's pretty humorous watching a lot of characters fall at once, but otherwise this one is a bit forgettable. There is some strategy to planning out where to stand and anticipating the red panels, but that's about it. 69. Barreling along. Roll in a barrel and get to the end the fastest. You do this by tilting your Joy-Cons, which is surprisingly fun. You have to avoid the grass as much as you can since it'll slow you down, and there's speed boost around the end. This one is okay, but the motion controls don't always seem 100% responsive. And I'm not a motion control hater, that's just how it is. Colliding with enemies also means game over. You lose so much speed that it's impossible to catch up. 68. Trike Harder. So you're supposed to waggle the Joy-Con from side to side, but also rotate it? I have no idea what motion this is supposed to be. I just shake like crazy and hope for the best. This one kind of cracks me up when big characters like Donkey Kong are cycling on these teeny tiny tricycles. It's a decent enough minigame, albeit a little too short. It feels like it's over before it's really begun. 67. Metal Detectors. Although you don't really have metal detecting gear on, your Joy-Con rumbles when you're near a pile of coins. You'll simply dig when the rumble is there and collect them. It's a decent enough minigame, although it can feel unlucky if the dig spots surrounding you were sniped. 66. Look Sharp. It's like science class where you zoom in on bugs or fossils, but instead real people. The technology in the Joy-Con is really immersive for this minigame, as you'll tilt to get the sharpest image possible before anyone else. It's really basic for what it is, yet the concept is only somewhat enjoyable. 65. Clearing the Table. So there's a handful of rhythm minigames in Super Mario Party, and this one is my least favorite. They all kind of function the same, but feel different if you catch my drift. You simply pull the tablecloth to the beat, and maybe I'm just bad at this, but I found it really hard to time, and it didn't really feel as satisfying as it should. 64. Rumble Fishing. Sitting in Lekatu's cloud, you have to find the most powerful rumble and pull away at a dragon eel. The person that finds the longest eel wins the minigame. This is another one that feels kind of cheap, especially if someone finds the winner right away, but at the same time, it can be hard to tell since the rumbles all feel somewhat similar, so there's an element of chance and strategy. 63. Looking for Love. I mean, are we really? This seems like the wrong way of doing so. You just have to find the heart and click towards it before anyone else. I like that they switched it up a little with the different colors and suits, but that's all it really has going for it. 62, Baton and On. All I can think of is that marching game in Wii Fit Plus, which I know sounds really weird, but it's actually very similar to that game, except you're just waving the Joy-Con to the beat with no feet movement required. I don't mind this, but my Joy-Con movements don't always feel accurate. Many of these motion control minigames work perfectly fine, but this one feels a touch janky. 61, Pep Rally. This just makes me want a Mario American football game. We still haven't gotten one yet, surprisingly. You just flip the card to the music, which is a bit satisfying doing this with everyone else, although it's a bit strange that everyone is a Toad besides us. 60, Time to Shine. Yet another rhythm game. This time we're playing Just Dance, Mario Edition. Just follow Waluigi's dance moves and you'll get a perfect score. Just the fact that it is Waluigi coordinating our dances makes this better than some of the other rhythm games. 59, Sort of Fun. Not only is this a fantastic pun, but the title perfectly describes this minigame. It is indeed sort of fun. You organize these different balls into the barrels and that's all. It's amusing how excited the characters get when they place the ball in the right spot. They're just like, ooh, I did that, woo! 58, Lightning Round. You get the coins, and the Sumo Bros summons electric balls to try to zap them out of you. This one is good if you really need coins for the main game, but standalone, there's very little substance. It's really easy avoiding electricity. You're not going to have any struggles whatsoever. 57, Fiddler on the Hoof. You ride a horse and have to move your Joy-Con when you're in the pink circle. This is yet another rhythm game that's fun enough for what it is. I do like that you pull the Joy-Con back. It simulates controlling a horse in real life without the hippity-hoppity. 56, Hammer and Sick'em. This one is kind of weird. You team up and try to pop the other team's balloons with a hammer. Why doesn't every player have a balloon? I get the amount of players can change, but it just looks strange, I guess. And this minigame usually ends in like 5 seconds, if that. 55, Timing is Money. I haven't heard a more true statement. Timing is everything when it comes to making money. And that applies with this minigame too. You'll ground pound the switch and get 1 to 5 coins, or a bob-omb where you'll lose coins. I like this one because you have to put effort in to consistently get a lot of coins. It's not as easy as it looks. 54, Strike It Rich. Yet another rhythm game. This time you auto-run and hit question mark blocks to the beat. This is one of the better rhythm games just because it's a bit more dynamic and feels more akin to a normal minigame. The background has a nice dreamy feel to it as well. 53, Heir to a Fortune. Perplexed is how I describe this one. We're on a bunch of clouds, and in order to get coins, we have to choose a direction to move that doesn't collide with another player. So do you go for the jackpot every time and risk others doing it, or do you go for small amounts only? It's a massive mind game, and if it were more stimulating, it'd make for a great minigame. 52, Juice Box. This is a fairly underrated puzzle minigame. You have to find the pair of matching fruit, but you can only link up one half of it. This requires you and your partner to react fast. Sometimes the picture will psych you out where one side of fruit matches up, but the other doesn't. It's fairly fun. In fact, we've officially entered fun minigame territory. 51, Get Over It. Fine, I will get over it. Its name is Growl, by the way. Come on, Nintendo, credit the man for his hard work at making us jump high in the air. Hello? This reminds me of Hot Rope Jump, but you have to jump at different times and it's more interesting. The changing speeds and directions makes this one pretty decent. 50, Penguin Pushers. Yep, you push all the penguins through this door as fast as possible. This reminds me of Pushy Penguins from Mario Party 5, but not nearly as fun. The penguins don't like to cooperate, so you have to actually strategize to get them all out. 49, Dart Gallery. Imagine Monkey Ball, but 3 randos throw darts at you and you lose if you get hit 3 times. This one is extremely difficult for a person in the ball, but fear not, as the attacking players only have 5 darts to throw. So with some careful manipulation, you can bypass the darts, but again, it's not easy to pull off. 48, Drop Quiz. A bunch of Mario characters display on a monitor. Some of them will hold fruit and others won't. One player picks a question for the rivals and others have to answer correctly. While I don't find this game that fun, I have to appreciate the difficulty it presents. It challenges your memory. It makes you guess what you need to pay attention to. 47, Smash and Crab. Beak Crab wants to smush poor player with a big hammer. This is an interesting one as it's completely reliant on proper teamwork from the 3 players. If they aren't actively working together, it's fairly easy to avoid the hammer slams. 46, Drop Shot. Why these 3 players can't just jump off the girders is beyond me. But basically, the one player tries to hit them with some bombs. And it's not as easy as you'd think, since the bombs come through on a conveyor belt and you have to time out your attacks with a tennis racket. This whole scenario is so much more intricate than it needs to be, but it does make for a good minigame. 45, Off the Chain, the Roman Colosseum brought to the Mario world. One player rides a Chain Chomp and tries to take out the other 3 players. I really like that Chain Chomp does not control smoothly. In fact, he's kind of hard to use. You have to really practice to get good with controlling him since the other characters can move fairly brisky. It feels more chaotic in nature. 44, Rhythm and Bruise. Something about this rhythm game is more enjoyable than the other ones. I think it's just better paced and feels more action-packed, I guess? It's hard to describe, but I really get a kick out of this one. The music is pretty decent too. 43, Take a Stab. I just really like the song in Take a Stab. It sounds nice and it feels great stabbing through the fruits. It fulfills a strange childhood dream, since doing this in real life isn't nearly as seamless. And the Galoombas are just vibing with us. They're actually the best. I mean, look at them. Come on. Come on. 42, Go with the Flow. So you'll pop a bunch of balloons using a bigger balloon, and you control a fan to push him towards these balloons. It is a really weird idea, but strangely intriguing. I like ramming into a bunch of balloons at once. Go with the Flow is on the slow side, but fun nonetheless. 41, Minor Setbacks. Oh snap, we found some diamonds in Minecraft. Time to take them to safety. You just kind of walk through the cave and avoid the piranha plants as fast as you can. I like the simplicity and the fact that everyone has to work together on moving around. 40, Half the Battle. As a team, you have to collect half a Sun Shard and merge it with the other side. There's definitely some strategy wrapped in here, in terms of choosing to grab multiple shards at once and trying to snipe shards away from your rival. 39, Cruisin' for Bruisin'. The Bruisers are angy for some reason, and they chase you through this endless tunnel. This tunnel has many forks in the road. One path will slow you down while the other is clear. It's kind of a luck-based minigame, but at the same time, you can still win even if you take the bad paths. It all comes down to how speedy you move. 38, Wiped Out. Everyone says they hate cleaning, but there's something very cathartic about the process. You're ridding of a mess, and Wiped Out is basically a window washing simulator with music. You have to be really snappy with your wipes, and that's what makes it one of the best rhythm games. 37, Precision Gardening. Button mashers have been a staple in Mario Party, and this is the equivalent but with motion controls. You shake the Joy-Con to release water and reach the flower before anyone else does. I just love going at it with all my strength and might. All of this to water my precious plant. 36, Gridiron Gauntlet. The Charge and Chucks are doing some agility training for the next football season, and we're stuck in the middle for some reason. Just don't get tackled 3 times, that's the main premise. It's a fast-paced action game. You need quick reflexes at times to avoid these fellas. 35, Rowboat Uprising. Row your boat violently down the stream in order to win. You'll move by shaking your Joy-Con, but you can only move one of the sides. This is another minigame that really benefits to have teammates that are working with you, or you don't stand much of a chance of winning. 34, Social Climbers. Another simple yet enjoyable minigame. You just have to climb a pole as quickly as possible. This is done by moving the Joy-Con while holding R. You can do this in small or big strokes, which is cool. It's another minigame that feels really gratifying to play. 33, Net Worth. I'm typically not a fan of any sort of fishing games because they're usually drab, but this one is pretty awesome. You pull up on the net and catch a bunch of Cheep. The motion is just clean and fast, and it's fun trying to time out when to get the biggest grab as well as nab the rare golden Cheeps. 32, Making Faces. Having this be a 2-player minigame is pretty smart and a neat take on this style of minigame. You have to add Mario's face with a crane, but you can only move up and down or left and right. Not only is that difficult to do perfectly, but you have to memorize exactly what the face looks like. 31, Fireplace Race. The room is pretty dark. Good thing there's like 30 candles nearby to light it up better. This minigame is pretty cool, and they even add a bit of depth with swoopers that can catch you, slowing down your team's time. I do have to admit though, all those candles seem like a big fire hazard. Just giving you a warning, okay? 30, Pie Hard. I've never been pied in the face. It probably never will because that just doesn't sound pleasant. You just have to throw pies at your rivals and hit them the most times. You can pick up 2 pies at once, which is cool since that's 2 attempts at getting hits, but it's also slower than getting 1 at a time. 29, Stake Your Claim. All you do is try to select the biggest space. This shouldn't be that enjoyable, but it is because only one person can select a space. So that means you're not only in a rush, but you have to find and guess what the biggest space is. It's simply wonderful, making a right guess and the game counts out the squares showing your victory. 28, What a Racket. The most insane version of tennis I've ever played. One person has a massive racket while the other 3 have normal rackets. You rally bombs back and forth and score points when a bomb explodes on a player's side. This is another 1v3 that's balanced extremely well. Both sides have advantages and disadvantages. 27, home on the ring. Take your trusty boomerang and thwack away at the pokies. You get more points by smacking the head off. You've got a lot to think about with timing your boomerangs and planning out which pokies are worth hitting and which aren't. 26, just for kicks. It's a legal requirement at this point for Mario Party to have some sort of soccer-themed minigame. This one is a bit more in-depth since you actually run around the field trying to score points into the goal. The only real difference is there's no goalkeepers, so that makes the game a bit faster paced, which I very much appreciate. 25, Train in Pain. Imagine Monkey Fight, but you're in a stiff car. The stiffness actually adds a lot to this minigame since the punches feel more direct and concrete. You can't just wail them out whenever, you need to have a plan of attack. 24, Block and Load. You can't go wrong with shooting a cannon and knocking over a bunch of blocks. Look, I'm a 9-year-old deep down, this is still entertaining to me. I don't think it'll ever get old. The physics feel pretty realistic too. You can sense the weight of all the blocks. 23, Follow the Money. That sure is the way of life, huh? I really enjoyed this coin minigame, simply because of the full range of movement. It's so basic and down to earth. I love stuff like this in Mario Party minigames. The auto-scrolling strangely adds to the flair that it already has. 22, All-Star Swingers. By far the best rhythm minigame. It's a typical baseball one, but the music is extremely catchy. Swinging the Joy-Con feels really nice, and you get a great sense of content hitting the ball at just the right time. 21, Toe the Line. Your enjoyment of Toe the Line comes down to if you have a good partner or not. It's incredibly cool putting together the shapes, and it feels so rewarding teaming up with someone at the same time. 20, Isthmus Be the Way. Ah yes, more walking minigames. You already know I adore these. This one is even better because it's a sort of a relay where you pass a firework from one character to the other, and the paths take more effort to cross, as you can see by these narrow roads. 19, Soak or Croak. Well, that title is a little overdramatic. It's just some bros having a water gun fight, jeez. The objective is to shoot water pellets so hard that you knock everyone off the pedestal. I love that you have to refill your water gun manually by shaking if you miss too many shots. It adds this element of eustress and even realism to what real water gun fights are like. 18, Tall Order. More than anything, this minigame just makes me hungry. The goal is to make the tallest ice sculpture by shaving ice while you're near the pile. It requires a lot of good timing and is even better with a partner, but man, it just looks so good. I just want to eat it so bad. 17, Can't Take Pancake. I sure can take the pancake. The more you take, the more points you get. The ones with stars are worth more because they're extra special. This kind of reminds me of Mahjong, but cooler. It never gets old waiting to grab a pancake just so you can snipe one of the star ones. It's endless fun. 16, Snack Attack. I'm not sure why the cups are comically large, but the idea is to catch popcorn and avoid the boulders. Sorry, Nathaniel, you don't want these ones. It's a really good 4-player minigame. You can see the popcorn coming so you can try to predict where it'll show up and where your opponents will be. 15, Perfect Fit. One of the best uses for Joy-Cons I've seen yet. You and a partner take some shapes and have to match them together to make a perfect cube. It'll require you to move your Joy-Con in all sorts of directions, and it's oddly satisfying making a match within a couple seconds. This kind of feels like one of those fun balance games from Wii Fit. 14, Candy Shakedown. And here is another great use of the Joy-Cons. All you have to do is shake the candy out of the jar. It's not as easy as it sounds though, since you genuinely have to pay attention to the size of the candies and figure out which ones are going to fit through better. Shaking the jar like a madman isn't guaranteed to work. It takes actual effort to do this quickly. 13, Feeding Frenzy. I totally understand why some people wouldn't place this minigame nearly as high as I am, but they really nail the motion controls. I never have issues with aiming at the higher and lower mouths. The throw mechanic is clean and swift. You can get as many balls as you want for as fast as your own output can be. 12, Sizzling Steaks. My god, this is the only time I've played a game that actually makes my mouth water. Just look at how real and juicy that steak looks. You flip the steak by lifting the pan with a Joy-Con, and the physics are absolutely perfect. It's a really basic idea, but you can't go wrong with how delicious the steak looks. 11, Fetch Quest. Mario Party minigames truly shine when you get to fully run around and collect things. Fetch Quest has everyone team together to collect 9 gems as quickly as you can. You have to hit some buttons to get to secret areas, and there's a lot of ways to make this process go smoothly. 10, Slap-a-Razzi. The creativity really shines with this one. The Koopa Troopa is trying to get everyone's photo, but the goal is to get the most points by keeping the main portion of the frame. You can literally kick your rivals away. It's hilarious and can even be captured on camera. It's probably the funniest minigame of them all. You can't go wrong with this one. 9. Sign, Steal, Deliver. Who would have thought we'd be using a drone in a Mario Party minigame? The idea is to collect more packages than the other team. The solo player has a fast-moving drone that can carry one package at a time, while the team has to run upstairs. But there's 3 of them and they can carry 2 packages at once if they're lucky. I am shocked at how balanced and fun this minigame is on both sides. It's extremely replayable and a great time. 8. Fruit Forecast. I feel like some people hate minigames like Fruit Forecast, but honestly, there's just such a sheer joy of filling your basket with as much fruit as possible. You have to avoid the spikes for some extra challenge, and man, I have this stupid grin when I'm playing this one. I think it has to do with that nice sparkle and the sound effect when a fruit lands in your basket. It just feels good. 7. Dash and Dine. Think Overcooked, but slightly watered down. And that's not a bad thing. Dash and Dine is still a grand old time. Toad calls for orders of food, and you and a partner have to deliver the right food items. There's no chopping or cooking anything, but you've got Red Toad as an obstacle to keep things exciting. 6. Spear Mongers. Ah yes, I too collect spherical magnets for fun. I'm not going to tell you why, but here the goal is to get the most marbles in your goal. You lower your magnet and attract as many to you as you can, but the challenge comes into play when other players can take balls away from you. So there's actually a layer of depth in terms of collecting balls and stealing from others. 5. Bopping Spree. We got a certified bop. It's another 1v3 where you have to punch the glowing targets as quickly as possible. What I like about Bopping Spree is how fast-paced it is. As soon as you hit a glowing target, the next one lights up ready for you to take action. It's always a close call between the 1 and 3 player, which makes it even better. 4. Fuzzy Flight School. I don't know why, but I actually put this minigame on a top 10 worst Super Mario Party minigames list way back in 2018. I'm not sure what I was thinking, because this one is incredibly fun. You move around in a plane and have to avoid the fuzzies. It's pretty thrilling, and the motion controls really enhance the experience. 3. Bumper Brawl. Bumper Balls is an all-time classic, and Super Mario Party managed to make a proper successor. There's more balls flying around, and you can take a risk by charging up for a powerful boost. Hit a player and knock them right off, or miss and leave yourself vulnerable or even fall off yourself. 2. Trip Navigator. The center is the objective, but to get there, you have to avoid as many bananas as possible. You can feel the thrill of navigating your path and finding the clearest way to go. You'll trip on a banana at some point, it's guaranteed, but the whole idea is to trip up as little times as possible. 1. Dust Buddies. I did just put a minigame where you vacuum as the #1 pick. It's one of those rare 1v3 minigames where the fairness balance is actually spot on. There's just something really gratifying about cleaning up the floor. It just feels really nice. After over a decade, Mario Party Superstars brings the series back to its original roots, and I couldn't be happier about it. So I wanted to celebrate and go through every single minigame and rank them from worst to best. This list is based off how fun and replayable the games are. So with all that said, let's get her ranked. 105. River Raiders. It's weird calling this game the worst when there really isn't a horribly bad minigame in Superstars at all, but I'll admit that River Raiders is very slow and just kinda drags on. You go down a lazy river and collect coins, but your movement speed is ludicrously relaxed, and I think that's the point, but I'd rather play anything else. 104. Puddle Paddle. It's very much the same as River Raiders, but slightly cooler. You'll team up with another player and collect coins that the Hammer Bro throws into the water. The paddling is responsive, but your turns are really wide, so it feels like you have to plan 8 light years in advance to get anything before your opponent does, so it's just okay. 103. Bowser's Big Blast. I know Mario Party is a very luck-based game, but I really don't like when the mini-games are like that as well. I'm aware this is a very split opinion too. Some people love this kind of stuff, and some people hate it. But honestly, for me, I don't like pushing the wrong switch and losing an entire game of Mario Party because of Bowser's big motherfucking blast of bullshit. That's just my thoughts, you know? 102. Hide and Sneak. It's the same as Bowser's Big Blast, as it's completely luck-based, but now there's a chance of 3 people winning instead of just 1. 3 players hide behind a rock, tree stump, mushroom house, or bush, and they might get spotted. The thing of the matter is the direction the characters move in before they hide. It actually isn't correlated with how they're moving, so just ignore what they're doing on the screen. It's just made to deceive you. 101. Winner's Wheel. You push a button and get an item from a roulette wheel. This barely even qualifies as a game, and if it does, there's no substance to it at all. At the very least, you might get an item out of it. 100. Swinging with Sharks. You push the jump button and either fall in the water or get an item. It's another item minigame, so there isn't much to it. 99. Archer Rival. If you're the one shooting the arrows, enjoy your free win because it's almost impossible to win in the group of 3. Even when the Boo and Goomba are acting stupid, it's still super hard to avoid the arrows when you move as slow as a sloth. Minigames that are virtually one-sided like this are okay to have, but they're not that great. 98, Piranha's Pursuit. And speak of the devil, this 1v3 minigame has a player on a skateboard while the other 3 helplessly ground pound a cloud to grow Petey Piranha. Which, if you think about it, doesn't make any sense because it's a cloud, but whatever. The issue is that as long as the skateboarder never trips up, they'll win every single time. Watering the plant only helps if the skateboarder makes a mistake, which is extremely unlikely to happen. 97, Trapeze Artist. A bunch of Goombas are roaming around a field, and you have one shot to drop a cage and catch more than everyone else. This really teeters on being luck-based, because you can't predict how the Goombas are gonna move, but at least you have some control. It does feel good nabbing a gold one and a bunch of normal ones all at once, but you're also just as likely to hold out for the best drop and end up with nothing. 96, Bobbing Balloons. Shoot an arrow like you're Cupid and nab yourself a snazzy little item. It's simple, but there's a bit of fun in timing out your shot to get the best prize possible. 95, Quicksand Cash. Dressed in a Bowser suit, you magically change the direction of quicksand and collect coins that the other 3 players miss. It's not a bad minigame per se, but it's a little boring if you're in the middle because you're just sitting there, and the other 3 players are slipping and sliding all over the place, which can be annoying. 94, Tidal Toss. I'm really conflicted because it's hard to tell if this 1v3 is evenly balanced or not. The player in the boat creates massive tidal waves that knock the group of 3 back if hit by them. If they fall off, the player in the boat wins. The thing is though, you can time out jumping over the waves if you know what you're doing, but the waves also come in really fast and high, so it's not that easy to avoid. Because of that, I have to put it near the bottom. 93, Roll Call. Do you like counting? Well, now you can do that with Toads, Boos, or Bob-Ombs. You need to get the closest amount counted or get the exact amount if you're really good. That's the only issue with Roll Call. If you can count quickly and are quick, then there isn't much challenge here. The Boos do make it more interesting because they'll fade in and out sometimes, and the Bob-Ombs total will change because they explode. So there's that at least. 92, Goomba Spotting. We've got another counting minigame, but it's much more varied and difficult. A bunch of Goombas randomly run from one hill stump to the other, and you don't really know how they're gonna come in. Sometimes they're in big stacks, sometimes they run in a long line, it's random every single time. You also can't move your counter down, so you aren't able to make adjustments for mistakes. 91, Manner of Escape. I really enjoy this minigame, but there's an element of luck thrown in here that spoils it slightly. You run through doors that strangely resemble Hotel Mario of all things, and you have to find the right one to move down a floor and eventually reach the entrance. It's a cool idea, and forces you to pay attention to which doors you've gone through as well as everyone else's. There's basically a chance that you'll lose only because someone guessed lucky multiple times. 90, Coconut Conk. 3 players ground pound some trees and drop beat coconuts, while 1 player rolls around in a barrel. This one can really vary on its fun factor. It depends on how experienced everyone is because either the barrel player will win easily or will lose right away. The rolling is also a little too slow to keep up with the coconuts, but it doesn't matter if the other players aren't fast enough. 89, Cashapult. In this 2v2, you'll take turns jumping through the sky grabbing coins. This is one of the few coin mini games that I kinda like because it requires you to carefully pick your route if you want to end up getting all the coins, which you can technically do. 88, Flash Forward. For some reason, there's 5 different stages you can cycle through, which is kinda neat. I wish more mini games had different backgrounds like this one. The goal is to be up in front of the camera when the timer runs out. What it boils down to is only the last 2 seconds mattering, as you're in a mad rush to punch everybody out of the way. 87, Goal. Yeah, let's just have one goalie dodge 3 soccer balls at once. That's fair. To be honest though, it's not as unfair as it sounds because the goalie can move and dive really fast. So it really comes down to who has better timing and forward thinking. 86, X-Ray Payday. And this is why I have trust issues with conveyor belts. You have to try to memorize what's inside each question mark block to get as many coins as possible. You can only see what's inside each one for maybe a second, so you have to constantly memorize 3 blocks at a time. It's a lot harder than it sounds because sometimes you'll miss time grabbing the box, then you get hit and you end up forgetting what's inside all the other boxes because you got so disoriented. 85, Spin Doctor. Not sure why Doctor is in the title, but yes, there's definitely some spinning happening. The blue areas spin in every direction, while the red is more restricted. So you have to figure out which direction is going to be fastest, and sometimes that can be frustrating. And that's only because the spinning puts the pacing down to a damper. You just kind of sit around and wait for half this minigame. 84, Cake Factory. Make the perfect cake with one dude putting the cake on a platter, and the other adding a big-ass strawberry on top. Perfect. The worst looking cake ever. But the minigame was enjoyable because you have to time out grabbing the food as well as when to place it down. It's a very team-oriented game. The only problem is they slowed down the overall minigame compared to the original. 83. Dark and Crispy. I imagine that's what Bowser is called by his girlfriend, Dark and Crispy. But that's besides the point, don't think about that. Bowser is hiding in the dark, and you have to avoid him in his fire. It's cool to see classic Bowser minigames like this return. They're a nice change of pace and fairly enjoyable. 82. Roll out the barrels. As long as you have functioning eyeballs, you basically just get whatever item you want. The items are placed in barrels which spin around the screen, but as long as you're paying attention, it's very easy to keep track of and you'll get what you desire. 81. Messy Memory. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's as sharp as a beak. There's a bunch of items on 2 shelves, and half of them end up on the floor. You have to put them back exactly as they were as fast as possible, or at least get as close as you can remember. Depending on how awake I am, really harpens how pleasing this one is. 80. Skewer Scurry. One guy controls all the spikes, and the other 3 have to avoid them. Because of the slight delay in the spike delivery, there's this great rush of moving out of the way and avoiding getting sent to smithereens. Mario Party 10 actually had a few good ideas deep in there, didn't it? 79. Boulder Ball. One of the few minigames that made improvements over the original. When you get hit by the boulder, you aren't pushed down the hill as much, making it easier to recover and more likely to win. It's still not perfect since winning as the boulder thrower still isn't that hard, but it's overall a bit more balanced. 78. Tackle Takedown. It's the simplest version of modern Madden football. 3 players try to tackle the player with the football in hand. Sometimes you'll win easily, and sometimes you'll miss dive after dive. 77. Etch and Catch. I really like the idea of this one. You and a partner have to make a circle around the little butt boy to get a point, but I can't for the life of me figure out a good way to control this one because the turning is purposefully slippery. Not only that, but both players need to have a strategy going into it if you want to win, or you'll just draw in the same direction and get nowhere. 76. Tug-O-War. I'm shocked they brought this minigame back with the same controls as Mario Party 1. They even included a warning about not using the palm of your hand, which is just hilarious. It's classic Tug-O-War, and it's still a good time. Although, honestly, all I can think about is Squid Game now that I've seen the show. Like, show's cursed me. 75. Hammer Slammer. Mash the A button to a certain height to get an item based off how high the rocket gets. It's one of the rare item minigames that feels like you actually have to use your brain to play it, which I very much appreciate. 74. Tube It or Lose It. Inner tubing has never been more exciting as one player tries to run over everybody with a spiked machine. While I like trying to avoid the spiked machine thanks to the quick and precise movement, I mostly just appreciate the shy guy skiing on the sideline. I mean, just look at him. He's just kind of hanging out, going for a nice little stroll while we're trying to evade death. He's so cool. 73. Dinger Derby. It's not a Mario Party if there isn't a baseball minigame included somewhere. Dinger Derby is one of the more challenging ones as the ball comes at you at different speeds, often giving you very little time to react. Sometimes it'll even throw 2 balls at once for extra points, but they're always the hardest to hit. 72. Honeycomb Havoc. One of the best big brain minigames out there. The goal is to avoid picking up the honeycombs since they're filled with bees doing their due diligence. You can hit a dice roll of 1 or 2, so you have to plan ahead and try to predict what everyone else is going to roll so you don't get out. Its slow nature adds to the experience because it kind of forces you to double guess yourself, which adds this strange amount of suspense. 71. Pogo a Go-Go. The world's greatest pogo stickers land on a platform with holes and try to survive while someone in the middle rotates the stage around. It's a pretty cool idea, and can be challenging if you're close to too many holes at once. 70. Sneak and Score. This is one of those minigames I'll likely get slack for, but I've always disliked this game. You have to push a button and go back to the entrance without the chain chomp noticing you, and all you have for defense is hiding in a barrel. If you're caught, that's it, the game is over. So I love the concept of this whole thing, but the amount of time it takes the player to get in the barrel is so long that it's almost impossible to survive. I mean, I'm probably just really bad, which is why I didn't put it near the bottom of this list. It deserved some credit. 69. Spotlight Swim. 3 players try to catch one person hiding in the water. It's actually a pretty decent minigame because the player in the water can also duck underneath to more sneakily get around the spotlight, so it's fairly well balanced. 68. Rockin' Raceway. Just rock L and R over and over to send your horse moving forward. You can get a carrot power-up to have unlimited stamina for as long as you want too. While I like this minigame, it's a touch on the dull side because you can only go so fast. Most of the time you're just edging at the end of your stamina meter. Don't take that the wrong way. 67. Beach Volley Folly. If you like volleyball, then you'll surely be into this one. Now, maybe it's just me, but the gameplay feels very slow and boring at times because because the volley moves slow enough that you'll always be able to hit it, but it still controls well and looks pretty nice. 66. Mush Pit. Whoever gets the Mega Mushroom from the block turns super large and in charge, and they try to run into everyone else before they shrink back down. It's one of those minigames that either ends in 5 seconds or lasts the entire time limit. Its unpredictable nature makes it fun enough. 65. Parasol Plummet. Using the best umbrella you've ever seen in your life, you float down some wall and collect coins and bags. It's actually kind of fun since you have a good amount of control on how fast you fall and which direction to move towards. 64. Bobsled Run. Take a bobsled and go down the hill as fast as possible. It's got a couple of speed boosts and jumps to add some excitement, and it's still a fun time. I've noticed that the turning is different from the original. It's much more sensitive and relies more on both players moving right or left simultaneously. And I just gotta mention that the new ice walls are looking hella dank. I like this way more than the snow walls, just saying. 63. Look Away. Just look a different direction from the top player. That's all you're doing. What makes this minigame so delightful is the fact that you're given a second or two to keep changing your direction. It's a good way to psych out the player on top, but sometimes it just doesn't work and you'll get booted out regardless. It's also hilarious how when you lose, everyone looks at you in shame or disappointment. 62. Slot Car Derby. This one was always hard to control back in the day, and it's still kind of like that. By moving the joystick, your car will move forward and around the track, but you can't go too fast or you'll spin out losing tons of time. So it's all about finding that balance of how fast and slow you should go. 61. Bill Blasters. You'll spin around in a circle and fire bullet bills at players to eliminate them. In a way, I kind of hate how hard it is to aim your shot because of the speed you spin at, but at the same time, that's what makes this one so unique. You gotta learn how to time out your shot so it hits the others. 60. Shy Guy Says. Just follow the Shy Guy's direction. If he throws up a red or white flag, you just have to do the same. Over time, though, he'll try to psych you out by putting up both flags or quickly putting one down and then using the other. As time moves on, you have to react faster and faster, and that's what makes Shy Guy Says so enjoyable. 59. Mass Meteor. Without spacesuits, fly through space and avoid hitting the meteors. I'm admittedly really bad at this one, but it's still a pretty cool duel game and reminds me of this random Jimmy Neutron Flash game that I played in 2004. It's called Space Blast if you're curious, but anyway, this is a solid minigame. Man, I totally forgot that Space Blast existed. I loved this game as a kid. 58. Vine With Me. Jump from vine to vine like you're playing Pitfall on Atari. That's a game nobody remembers because it came out like 600 years ago, but anyway, the objective is to time out your jumps so you'll grab each upcoming vine. It gets a little tricky at the end as well. 57. Picking Panic. This one reminds me of Vine With Me due to its swinging nature, but it's team-based and requires you to drop cherries into a basket. Getting into a good swing of things can be a blast since you need to time grabbing and dropping cherries pretty well. 56. Winner or Dinner. A much more interesting coin minigame. They get coughed out of a pot with spinies. That, on top of piranha plants, actually makes it fairly easy to get hit by some sort of enemy, so the layer of difficulty is nice. I also love how at the end of this one, everyone just gets sucked into a tornado for some reason. Mario Party 8 minigames sure had their weird outros. 55. Nightlight Fright. You simply have to stop the chain chomp with the flashlight and let him get as close as possible. This basic idea is overtaken by the fact that the chain chomp moves completely randomly. The barrels don't slow him down. He just goes forward whenever he's feeling it. And there's also a delay with your flashlight, making it scarier trying to time out your flash. 54. Hammer Drop. Hammer Bro is feeling super generous and drops a bunch of coins for us to grab, with the occasional hammer here and there. I really like this one because of how many coin bags he gives us, and it's much better than the original because the controls are way smoother. 53. Hot Rope Jump. It's just a little bit of jump roping, no big deal. Don't worry about the fact that the rope is made out of fire, that doesn't matter at all. There's also an endless mode for Hot Rope Jump too, which tests your skills at how long you can last without burning to a crisp. 52. Snowball Summit. Roll up a snowball and yeet someone down the hill. While I love the idea of this one, it can be a tad frustrating when two snowballs connect and they both disintegrate on the spot. I get that it makes sense for that to happen, but that's the sacrifice for building up a large snowball. They send players farther, but are also harder to control and maintain. 51. Later Skater. Ice skate to your heart's content. You have to make the sharpest and smoothest turns to pull up first place. The turning does feel a little weird at first, but once you get used to it, it's a blast trying to cut corners and jump ahead of the crowd. 50. Burn Style. This is basically Hot Rope Jump, but slightly better. The spikes spin around and you're slightly less restricted because you can move around in 3D, just in case you need to correct your jump at all. Plus, it's a bit easier to tell where the spike bar is from the way the camera angle is presented. 49, Facelift. I can't believe how much more challenging this remake one is. I appreciate that there's little indicators now that show you where to grab Bowser's face, but man, the accuracy itself is way more precise than it used to be, which is definitely a good thing. I was doing really poorly with this remake because I'm so used to the leniency of Mario Party 1. 48, Bumper Balloon Cars. You'll use the spikes on the front of your car to bop everyone's balloons. The only issue with this minigame is just how quickly it's over. It typically takes less than 10 seconds, but it's just really nice sneaking behind someone and snagging the edge of their balloon. It just feels raw and powerful. 47, Money Belts. Run along a conveyor belt and get as many coins as you can. I like that it's a 1v3 since that makes for two different experiences. The top player can't really see what coins are coming, while the bottom can only pick up the scraps and have more candy obstacles to worry about. 46, Hand Car Havoc. Mash the pedal on the hand car to get across the treacherous train track as fast as you can. You'll also need to lean from side to side to prevent falling, so there's a good amount of teamwork required. Your enjoyment of Hand Car Havoc really depends on how much your teammate leans and maintains good speed, since it's pretty easy to fall if you aren't careful. 45, Dungeon Dash. Push left and right to get across the dungeon. Now, I always prefer the desert version of this stage, but this one's fine too. It is nice that if you make a mistake, the delay in moving again isn't nearly as long as it used to be. 44, Leaf Leap. Climb up the vine by jumping off all the leaves. It's surprisingly easy to make mistakes if you go too fast, since the next leaf doesn't show up until you land on a new one. So for that reason, I vastly prefer 43, What Goes Up, the better version of Leaf Leap. It's virtually the same game, but you can actually see what's coming and better plan your jumps out. Plus, there's more variety since the paratroopers tend to move around. We're getting into the games that are replayable now, starting with this one. 42, Dizzy Dancing. One of the few mini-games that drastically changed for the better. Instead of grabbing one note and the whole game ends, you have to grab the most notes before time runs out. This is a much better way of going about dizzy dancing since it makes the game last longer, and it also gives players more time to get used to their distorted controls. 41, Squared Away. Tiny square versus the big squares. You just try to survive getting squished if you're the small guy. Generally, it's super easy to avoid the big squares unless you aren't paying attention, or they do a good job teaming up and cornering you. I also like that they added 8-bit Mario as the background. That's pretty neat. 40, Speed Hockey. It sure is speedy fast. The longer the shell is in play, the faster it gets and the harder it is to control. The hardest part isn't even scoring, but not scoring on yourself. It's so easy for the front player to bonk the shell from behind and have it slide into your own goal. I hate when that happens. 39, Blockstar. A fairly bizarre puzzle game where you have to get matches of 5 by sending colors to the top by clicking on the bottom. It's hard to wrap my mind around this one, and honestly it feels a bit clunky, but it's probably just me being a noob boy. 38, Chip Shot Challenge. Here's yet another minigame that's been improved on. You have one chance to get the perfect shot. Whoever scores closest is the winner. What I'm really glad to see is that you can skip the computer player's turns if you want to. That's a really great QOL feature. And can we just look at this grass for a second? Oh, it looks so soft and comfortable. Like, I could probably sleep on this grass if I wanted to. 37, Castaways. Speaking of improvements, Castaways has a lot of great changes too. It's one of the best coin minigames because flicking the rod actually works properly. It kinda worked in Mario Party 1, but it was always easier to just flick for the back and that's that. Now, it's easier to aim for the front and middle row. And on top of that, the reeling is way faster when you miss out on money, so you waste less time. 36, Bounce and Trounce. Spin around on a pogo stick and knock everybody off the stage. The spinning isn't quite as easy as you'd think since you have to do a big jump to spin it all, so you have to carefully time when you attack the others. 35, Balloon Burst. Just blow up Bowser the fastest. There's not much else to it. Despite its simple premise, getting good at timing the pump is pretty fun, especially since you team up with someone else, so you have to rely on them to pump well too. 34, Cheep Cheep Chase. A Cheep Cheep is very angry at you for some reason and wants to eat you, so you have to swim through water while also avoiding spikes. It's also interesting to note how the Cheep Cheep just inhales the spikes like it's a normal Tuesday for him. I think this fish is going to overtake the human species one day. You better watch out, okay? While I definitely enjoy this minigame, the mashing does get tiring since you have to do it for a pretty long time. 33, Ice Hockey. The name says it all. You play ice hockey and have to score the most points. It controls pretty well and is simplified to just 4 players, which is kinda nice. One of the reasons I've never liked normal sports games is because you have to constantly switch between players, which is really disorienting. But here, it's just 2 people, so it's easier to focus. 32, Motor Rooter. One of the most memorable dual minigames. You race to the finish in this strange electric pipe while also riding a Koopa Shell car. There are speed boosts and lots of amp walls to avoid. The turning is a little little disorienting when you get on the ceiling, but this is still a really fun minigame. 31. Shell Soccer. A shockingly good take on soccer. Instead of shooting into a goal, you need to hit all the Goombas instead. Shell Soccer is paced pretty well too. It's a great idea that I'd honestly have seen myself doing with cones as a kid playing soccer on the streets. 30. Ice Rink Risk. Spinies fall from the sky and enter an ice rink. I'm assuming Lakitu is dropping them, but we don't know for certain. The respective is top-down, so it's a little hard to see where to go, but I like how difficult it gets once multiple Spinies get on the playing field. 29. Pit Boss. Imagine Ice Rink Risk, but Bowser is doing all the damage. It's virtually the same game, but the scenario is a little more interesting and the controls also aren't slippery, which is a plus. 28. Bumper Balls. I was worried about this minigame because when they remade it in the top 100, the physics were completely wonky and ruined. I'm glad to report that they've been fixed as they used to be, so matches are even and intense just like in the old days. There's also multiple different playfields, one being ice, which is slightly more slippery, and the other grassy with sand piles, adding a bit of variety. 27. Pushy Penguins. These penguins sure are in a rush to go for a swim, and unfortunately, we're right in the middle of their business. I really enjoy this one for the sheer novel concept of it all. It's just fun barraging your way through all the penguins and trying to stay on land. 26. Paint Misbehavin'. These poor Goombas are getting absolutely soaked in pink and blue paint. The objective is to end up with the most Goombas with your color. This minigame really reminds me of Splatoon not just because of the ink, but also because only the ending gameplay matters. You can go from winning the whole time, but lose in the last 3 seconds if you aren't careful. 25. Reverse a Bomb. Push the bombs really fast and don't get blown up by the bob-ombs. You wouldn't think this would be that exciting, but it is because the bombs move faster and faster, so the button pressing gets more and more thrilling by the second. It gets to a point where you have to decide which button presses are safe so you don't explode and lose precious seconds. 24. Rocky Road. I'm sorry to bring this up, but this minigame still reminds me of that horrifying German jump scare car commercial. But regardless, you go around punching a bunch of boulders faster than the other team. I'm glad that this is a 2v2 because it requires you to work with your team on what parts of the boulders to break up. 23. Bombs Away. I'm not really sure what we did to piss off this pirate ship so that it feels inclined to launch several cannonballs at us, but oh well. You have to jump around and avoid the bombs while also not tipping over into the water. At the end, a massive barrage rains down as well. 22. Storm Chasers. Piranha Plant very thirsty, so you need to give them as much water as possible to make them big and strong. A tiny rain cloud moves around the stage, so the goal is to just absorb the most water. I really love this one because of how frantic the action is. There's even Monimals that pop up out of nowhere to watch out for. 21. Tick-Tock Hop. Jump over the hour hand while it spins around. It's another one of those super simple minigames, but it's so addicting to replay, especially since there's an endless mode. The minute and hour hands are pretty unpredictable, so you have to have a good reaction time to be able to survive for a long time. 20. Monty's Revenge. Poke your head out for the longest amount of time without getting bonked by the Monties. I love how this is just reverse whack-a-mole and how well it plays. There's actually a lot of strategy in terms of where you should poke your head out and how long you should do so. 19. Mecha Marathon. Mash the A and B buttons together and watch the Shy Guy fly. You may need to conserve your strength because you'll have to mash for 10 seconds, but it's really cool seeing how far your Shy Guy goes. It's actually kind of suspenseful since the Shy Guys all move the same way. You can't tell when one is gonna drop. 18. Pokey Pummel. I know this is just a button masher, but I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy flexing my mashing skills. I have this technique, which I'm sure other people have learned, but basically I just shake my arm really hard and push the button way faster than normal. So it's really funny watching the Pokey get completely destroyed in 5 seconds. It's exactly like Mecha Marathon, but shorter. 17. Mario's Puzzle Party. I'll admit that I'm atrocious at this puzzle game, but I can't deny how great it is. You make matches of 2 and try to get multiple combos to score more points. Blocks will fall to make this whole process harder, but you'll sometimes get thwomps to help out. It's a solid idea and addicting to play again and again. 16. Tipsy Tourney. Run around a board and uncover all the tiles. I really like this one because every little movement you make matters. Subtle changes in direction can completely alter how the shell moves, which makes for a surprisingly in-depth minigame. 15. Coney Island. I don't usually crave ice cream, as weird as that sounds, but this minigame makes me want it. You have to have the tallest stack of ice cream, and you can only stack it by finding the shadows and standing over one before anyone else does. I also love how your movement gets slower the more scoops you have, as if each ice cream scoop weighs like 50 pounds or something. 14. Eats a Pizza. Another food-related minigame. This time you devour a massive pizza as fast as possible. It's a very tiring button masher, but my god is this one a blast. It's just so satisfying seeing half a pizza get eaten so quickly, and if you're really good, you can eat the whole thing before time runs out. 13. Crazy Cutters, a super iconic minigame. Draw around either a Boo, Chain Chomp, or Blooper and get as close as you can to the edges for the most points. The controls feel much more precise than they did in Mario Party 1, and it's a cool idea in general. I like how each enemy you cut around drastically gets harder too. It can be tricky to tell where to be sometimes. 12. Stick and Spin, one of the best puzzle games included with Mario Party. You have to match 5 balls and you'll try to send junk to the other player to win. This one is really addicting and is something that I could play for quite a long time if I let myself. It's just well paced and fun to look at. 11. Snow World. Snowboarding has never been so enjoyable. You push the buttons in a circle as fast as you can and pull off some sweet spinning action. It's another one of those minigames that's replayable because it's fun trying to improve how many spins you can do. Every time I see this minigame, all I can think of is that hilarious task on YouTube where each frame is a spin and it caps out at like 9720 within a second. I mean, look at this! 10. Sky Pilots. I always loved this one back in the day, but it always felt a little sluggish. This remake, on the other hand, feels amazing and runs perfectly. You and someone else control a plane and have to get to the end as quickly as possible. One person flaps the wings and the other steers. You can get boosts through rainbow rings and have to avoid a variety of enemies and obstacles. 9. Catch You Letter. I couldn't tell you why the Shy Guy's in such a rush, but you have to give him as many letters as possible. It's such a goofy yet intriguing idea. I love how the Shy Guy is just barely faster than you, so you're forced to cut corners to reach him. It's a strangely strategic game given how simple the concept is. 8. Mushroom Mix-Up. When you think of Mario Party minigames, this is the one that always comes to mind. Toad holds up a color, and the others have to get there as everything else is sent into the water. It's an extremely competitive one as you ground pound players to stop them from moving around, and it gets faster and faster as time goes on. 7. Tread Carefully, or as it used to be called, Shell Shocked. Not really sure why they changed the name for this one, but it's the same classic game that you all know and love. You're in a tank and you have to hit everybody twice to win. You can shoot straight shots or lob them in the air, and there's even 3 different stages. The controls feel pretty damn good too. In fact, they're even better than the original. 6. The Final Countdown. Any minigame that lets you punch the crap out of anyone is gonna be a good time. The numbers count down and the floor drops at 0. Now look, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but I just like doing this sweet Luigi jump kick. Hitting players feels so satisfying. The audio-visual feedback is so well fine-tuned. 5. Trace Race. The idea is so simple. Just trace a line as accurately as you can. I'm not sure if it's because it's with a bright marker or it's just the aesthetic, but it's such a joy trying to sketch out the line. The controls are just so smooth and work flawlessly. They really made it feel like you're carefully drawing. 4. Rapid River Race. Oh man, I forgot just how insane this one can be. You're riding a hovercraft and have to get to the end the fastest. Interestingly, you can control your speed, and the faster you go, the harder it is to avoid the urchins. But that rush that you get going full blast while avoiding all the urchins is incredible, and getting hit just makes you want to try again and get a better score. This is one of the few mini games that I would want to play without the board. It's just that awesome. 3. Paths of Peril. We have to start this mini game by just listening to the music for a minute. That added opera was completely unnecessary, but I deeply appreciate it, and it makes Paths of Peril all the more intense and fun. You simply run across a windy path and have to get to the end the fastest, but since it's a race, you try to do this really quickly, and falling causes you to lose a lot of time. The frantic nature is what makes this so excellent, and it's interesting to note that the screen itself no longer loads from one side to the other, but is instead a completely smooth camera. 2. Dungeon Duos. There's never been a more amazing 2v2 minigame, and probably never will be. You and a partner take turns navigating an obstacle course, which require quick wit, skill, and trust within each other. You'll open massive doors for each other, spin a lever around a gap so you can both get across, find the right pipe, and finish by blowing up a hot air balloon and escaping. How this concept hasn't been replicated multiple times over is beyond me, because it's so damn good. 1. Booksquirm. What else can it really be? Pages continuously fall, and you have to last the longest by avoiding the squish by standing over the holes in each page. It's an ingenious minigame idea even to this day, and it even comes with an endless mode where you have to survive until everyone gets squished. You really have to focus on each upcoming page to make sure you know where to go next. It's really satisfying getting better and spotting where the holes are. There's just something so joyous about this minigame. I'm so glad that it made a triumphant return. Everyone's seen these videos. Luigi beats Mario Kart 8 while doing nothing, Smash Bros while doing nothing, Mario Party minigames while doing nothing. It's pretty entertaining to see this be done, but let's take the idea a step further. Let's try to get first place in an entire game of Mario Party. Could we do it? Well, I think we can, but it's going to require a ridiculous amount of luck. The rules are as simple as can be. We simply aren't allowed to move at any point. We can hit A to go through menus and dice blocks, but that's it. If we run into chance time, I'll complete it by blindfolding myself so I can't rig the game in my favor and so we don't softlock ourselves. And of course, I'll play as Luigi for tradition. The hardest part is going to be picking the best board. DK's Jungle Adventure has too many splitting paths, which is a problem since I can't aim which direction to go. Peach's Birthday Cake isn't a bad choice since the star never moves, but I can also be sent to Bowser pretty easily. Yoshi's Tropical Island would be okay, but the star moves more frequently than any of the other boards. Luigi's Engine Room has loads of splitting paths, so it's kind of the same issue as DK's board. Mario's Rainbow Castle would be a good choice, but if you get to the star location and Bowser is there, you lose 40 coins, which is way too harsh. Bowser's Magma Mountain is one of the worst picks because every space can become red, and it's a luck in the draw getting the star most of the time. Eternal Star is similar to Luigi and DK's board considering there's too many branching paths. So our best option is probably Wario's Battle Canyon. While the cannons do shoot us in random spots, at least I'll have some sort of attempt to land close to a star. Now before beginning, we're gonna do 50 turns so that if I do end up in first, the bonus stars will be less likely to screw me over since I doubt I'm gonna be winning any of them. And with all of that said, let's do this thing. Immediately, we have a bad start, getting the lowest dice roll. It doesn't really matter that much who gets to roll first. In fact, in some cases, it's kind of a good thing, but I don't like going last. My first turn was actually pretty ridiculous. I ended up getting a 10 and taking the cannon to the top right portion of the board. I landed 2 spaces from the Shy Guy and had to talk to him. That's when I realized I'm not allowed to move my cursor. So every time I land on Shy Guy, I'm going to be forced to pay 10 coins and go to Bowser. So that really sucks. So I end up talking to Bowser, and since I'm already broke, he shoots me right back to the beginning. Although funny enough, I landed right before Koopa, so I got my coins back. So it's as if I rolled a 1 instead of a 10. Now I'm not going to go over most of the mini games because frankly they're pretty boring to watch. All that usually happens is I die in some way and the computers play for a bit and that's it. Not only does this take me out of getting the game star as a bonus at the end, but I'm also not going to be really getting any coins from the mini games, which is, you know, kind of a problem when stars require coins. So on turn 2, I got a 9, which was another pretty nice roll. This time I didn't land in front of the Shy Guy, so I could take the next cannon, which just so happens to be near the star. I landed right in front of the Boo, which was perfect because I needed some extra coins anyway. It looks like Yoshi's always going to be my victim since I can only push A through these menus. No hard feelings, right buddy? So I ended my turn with 24 coins and I was next to the star. And honestly, I can't believe how good my luck is so far. The next minigame was Shy Guy Says, and as you can guess, things didn't go swimmingly. On turn 3, Peach got to the star before I did, but didn't have enough coins. Mario also landed near the star, but ran out of moves. So just like that, I managed to get the first star by doing absolutely nothing. Unfortunately for me, Mario won the next minigame Facelift, which brought his coin total to over 50 coins. And guess who Mario's in front of? Yep, he's right next to Boo, and the stinky plumber stole my star. While I was upset about this, it's only the beginning of the game and a lot can still happen. The 5th and 6th turns were pretty uneventful, not much of anything happened. Tipsy Tourney was interesting though because the computers can't even finish the minigame. And what's funny about that is that this is actually a win for me since nobody gets coins. Welcome to the club guys, please keep losing. On turn 7, Peach got her first star, but in fact, I wasn't even that worried. My best strategy might be praying that one of the computers gets a ton of stars and then by some stroke of a miracle, Chance Time does a star swap with me and that's how I win. The following minigame was Bowl Over, and it turns out that Yoshi sucks at bowling. Freaking idiot. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I'd rather get 0 coins than -5 for getting hit. On turn 8, I was shot right in front of Boo, so I could take Yoshi's measly amount of coins. You know, it kind of sucks that I can't pick any other players besides him. Yoshi's probably got a vendetta against me. But anyway, I had enough coins for another star, which shot me into 2nd place. The 9th turn was pretty boring, but the minigame was such a tease. I mean, I'm just standing there, praying some money comes towards me, and then I see a money bag. Oh, this is it. I'm gonna snatch this right up. After all this time and patience, I got gypped. Oh my god. Oh well. And after that, nothing interesting happens in the 10th turn. At this point, I'm only going to talk about the interesting turns and minigames. Turn 11 has our first chance time, and believe me, they're only going to get more and more frequent. This one sucked because I had to give all my coins to Yoshi, and that's kind of a problem since I already don't have a lot of options for collecting coins besides blue spaces and passing Koopa at the beginning. I did get this one-player minigame, which is normally a great resource for coins, but again, I can't move, so this is useless. And also, this minigame's kind of creepy when it remains dark for so long. Moving on though, Turn 12's minigame turned out pretty well. Here I am as Luigi just sitting in the boat doing nothing, and Mario manages to knock Yoshi right off the tightrope all by himself. And with that, I was rewarded some coins for participating. Hey, I'll take what I can get. By turn 15, Peach and I got a star, so we were in the lead. It's a promising start, but everyone at this point has loads of coins except myself, and I imagine lots of visits to the Boo will be had. Turn 15's minigame was pretty hilarious. See, I'm supposed to choose a pipe for the chest to go down, but obviously I can't move it. And as it turns out, thanks to stupid luck, I end up getting the chest anyway. Moving on to turn 18, Yoshi lands on a chance time. And yet again, I'm giving all my money away. Yep, all 0 coins. Truly a heartbreaking moment. Turn 19 is a bad one. Peach has infinite money and takes a star from me. Following that, however, I land on chance time for the first time, perhaps to get my revenge. Now, like I said before, I am allowed to jump and move in chance time, but I won't be able to see anything with my face buried in my jacket. Nothing remarkable came out of this though. Yoshi just gives 10 coins to Peach. The next minigame was Pipe Maze again, and I just so happened to be in the right spot. Pipe Maze is quickly becoming my best friend. By turn 24, everybody except Mario had 2 stars. I'm glad that I've been able to scrape by and somehow keep up with everyone, but I don't like that the star counter's so even, because I'm definitely not getting any of the bonus stars, and I really need to try to get a decent lead. On turn 27, Peach takes another star from me, and she got an additional one a couple turns earlier. This was actually a good thing. At this point, all I needed to do was somehow get a star swap with her and get way ahead in the game. After that, I landed next to Boo so I could get a whole 2 coins from Yoshi. Also, I can tell that Yoshi is actually pissed off that I keep taking his money. The man smashes a coin out of this brick during the minigame, and he pummels me to ensure I don't grab it. Over 1 freaking coin. Yeah, Yoshi definitely hates me. He's becoming sentient. On turn 28, Yoshi and Mario both take stars from Peach, basically evening the playing field. I'm starting to get worried that this is going to happen the rest of the game and I'll never be able to get a lead. The next minigame is Keep Away, quite possibly the easiest minigame of all time. For some reason, Mario throws the key to me and I just hold it. And the computers do nothing but goof around and we lose the key after like 10 seconds. We lost to Keep Away. How does that even happen? But then comes turn 29, and Yoshi lands on chance time. And my god, the dude did me the best favor he possibly could have by giving me a star from Peach. I almost feel bad with all the stars she's gotten stolen over all these turns, but hey, I actually got a star from chance time. By turn 34, Yoshi had 5 stars, tons of money, and just to rub it in, decides to take the rest of my coins as well. Now, I don't blame him for all the coins I've stolen from him, but why not go after Peach? And yes, I know I'm in second place, but still. After that, Yoshi lands on chance time, and let's just say that karma is about to bite back.
Chance time!
That's right, this lad hands over his 5 stars to me. And even better, we're getting near the end of the game, so my chances of winning have increased in a snap. But unfortunately, I was counting my chickens too early. Now that I'm the #1 target, everyone has cash to steal my stars, starting with Peach doing so. Going to a minigame, Handcar Havoc was pretty fascinating because I learned something I didn't even know was possible. After me and Mario fell off, Peach and Yoshi went so slow up this hill that they started riding backwards. I had no idea you could even do that. Maybe it's common knowledge, but this is new to me. But moving on, by the time we got to turn 39, the stars once again evened themselves out. With only 11 turns to go, I really had no idea what I was going to do. Not much happens in the next few turns, but this game of Hammer Drop was cool because I was given a nice fat money bag of 5 coinerinos. On turn 45, Yoshi steals a star from Mario and gets a star from Toad. I need to make a big play and fast or things are going to go south. So I hit chance time and hope the luck would ever be in my favor. I first hit the star, then myself, and finally Mario. And just like that, I nabbed another free star and was much closer to first place. Now that we're on the final 5 turns, Koopa predicts Mario's gonna win. Yeah, we'll see about that, pal. On turn 46, I nabbed some coins from Yoshi and I'm headed right for the star. On turn 47, I nabbed the next star and nobody else even got close to it. The luck I'm having right now is just insane, although I'm really worried about this boost space since I'm getting close to first place again. On turn 48, I land next to the star again, but Yoshi is right behind me. This ending is gonna be so stupid close. On turn 49, Yoshi doesn't have enough coins for the star, and look at Mario's coin count. Oh my god, 200 coins. I'm sorry, but that's just absurd. But anyway, I end up grabbing the star, but I also know Mario is going to take it on the next turn because he's right next to the Boo. That's when I realized Yoshi still has more coins from me, and the CPUs always take from the highest placed character, and I thought I might have a shot at winning this thing. On the final turn, Mario takes a star from Yoshi, which puts me in first place at the best possible time. It really is going to come down to what the bonus stars are. I just have to hope Yoshi doesn't get a bunch of them. I managed to land in front of the Boo so I could take some coins from Yoshi. I got incredibly lucky and stole enough coins so that my coin total was higher than his. So now, if we tie stars at the end, I'll still end up winning. And let's keep in mind, if Peach or Mario had the higher star count, winning at this point would have been impossible. But now we've made it to the moment of truth. It's bonus star time. As long as Yoshi doesn't get more than 1 bonus star, I should win. First up was the Game Star, and Peach took that one home. Next up was the Coin Star, and oh, big surprise, Mario took that one home. And that's when I realized that I just won no matter what comes next. The Happening Star was the final bonus, and it was a tie between Yoshi, Peach, and Mario. So that means it is indeed possible to beat Mario Party while doing absolutely nothing. This will never happen again. The odds of winning like this is so marginally low. I'm just glad I was able to pull it off. Afterwards, I went to the stats screen and it was cracking me up finding out that I only won 3 coins out of the 50 mini games I played. That's just ridiculous. Oh, wah. Mario Party is too slow. It takes forever to finish a game. I wish it was faster. I'm sure somebody you know has said those exact things, so let's take their complaints to heart. I've sped up Mario Party to 10,000% speed and want to see if it's still possible to win. That is literally the only rule. I'm gonna play as Luigi for good luck, set the computers to hard, and play 50 turns. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wow, that Nathaniel guy sped the footage up in Premiere and is a big old cheater, ha ha ha. And you know, I could have probably done that and gotten away with it, but I won't because I'm just that humble. I'll have a controller cam on so you know that this is all in real time. I went with DK's Jungle Adventure because it's generally a pretty easy board, although I knew this was going to be pretty hard to complete. I'm guessing that I'm going to lose every single minigame, so I need to rely on some really good board luck and getting some bonus stars at the end. One thing that's nice about playing at such a high speed is that you don't have to wait very long to play. In fact, it's too fast. I have to take a second to analyze every turn and figure out what actually happened. Now, as you can see, I'm absolutely not going to win Bobsled Run because I wasn't able to mash A 100 times in 2 seconds at the beginning. So me and Peach fell off the stage and lost. Something that did happen on turn 2 was landing on the Happening Space, which is actually really good. The Happening Space bonus star could potentially be my saving grace in this challenge. Losing, as Shy Guy says, was pretty sad. I just don't have the reaction time to hold either flag up. Peach ended up getting the first star, but since this is a 50-turn game, there's plenty of opportunities to get stars and steal them. Also, I just want to point out how funny these games look at hyperspeed. I mean, Limbo Dance makes Mario look like a freaking jackhammer. Coin Shower Flower was my first attempt at moving freely at this speed, and as you'd expect, it didn't go so well. By some miracle though, we actually won running of the bulb. Although the computers are on hard, so I guess it's not that surprising. Desert Dash was pretty intense because we actually got close to winning. I mashed left and right, but it just wasn't fast enough. Crazy Cutter was way harder than I expected. Just tapping any direction shot me forward and there was just no way I was gonna win. Treasure Divers is one of the few mini games where I can actually get coins. I just needed to mash fast as hell and get out of the water fast enough so I wouldn't drown. I wasn't going to get first or anything, but any coins at all were a blessing. Most turns, I was losing coins from losing minigames, or I'd get robbed from the Boo. Speaking of Boo, landing on him required a lot of careful thinking. I wasn't stealing coins from people in first place necessarily. It was generally characters with over 50 coins, so they couldn't steal stars from me. Not that I have any stars right now, but there's still time. Also, this moment was pain because the arrow pointed me away from the star and I clicked away by accident. And then Peach takes 20 coins from me because I was already such a threat to everyone. At the very least, I have been landing on a lot of happening spaces this game, so I'm pretty confident I'll at least get that bonus star. Several turns later, Peach has 5 stars and I'm really beginning to worry. I'm gonna need some pretty good luck to be able to catch up as I still have 0 stars, but at least I was on my way to getting one finally. After getting a star, I had to play Facelift. Just grabbing any part of Bowser's face was a miracle, let alone shaping it correctly. Peach grabs yet another star, giving her 6, and things are looking gloom and doom. 10 minutes after playing and I'm at turn 23, which is just nuts. I'm actually gonna finish a 50-turn game in about 20 real-time minutes. Hope was coming around as DK steals one of Peach's stars. The playing field is beginning to even out. I expected Paddle Battle to be a complete disaster since I can't row very fast, but we actually traded coins more than I anticipated. Buried Treasure was really sad because I'm usually really good at it, but Luigi gets stuck in the dirt, barely making any progress. And come on, Peach, taking away more of my coins? Why is poor Luigi being targeted so much? That's okay though. I got my revenge by drowning Peach in the ocean for forever. That'll just be my excuse because I literally can't reel fast enough to pull her up from the speed. On turn 33, I got a hidden block, hoping for a star but got a Koopa instead, which is also great. The more coins I can get before losing them inevitably, the better. Then there was Ground Pound, which was simply embarrassing. I charged to the top left corner and couldn't even manage to hit one peg. How humiliating. But at least I was finally getting my own stars. Over the past several turns, I managed to nab a few of them. Since I knew Peach was close to the star, I let her get it even though I could have headed towards it, and I'm glad I made that choice because I was literally right next to the next star. After getting my 4th star, I knew I was starting to have a chance at winning, but I really needed to get a head up on coins. Now, for years, I've made jokes about drawing a mustache in Crazy Cutter, and by complete accident, I actually did it this time. This one's for you, Aaron. But anyway, I landed on Boo and decided to take coins from Peach since she was the only character I could avoid a star steal from, and I somehow managed to steal like 20 coins, so that's pretty phenomenal. But the more important moment happened, and that was chance time. Now was the time to turn things around. I selected Peach and Luigi, and by all odds, I stole a star from her. That was probably the best thing I could have gotten from chance time, so I'm glad I pulled it off. But in a span of 5 real-time seconds, everything turned for the worst. I landed on a star space and didn't have enough coins to pay for it. And then DK landed on Boo and stole one of my stars. I didn't even realize he had caught up so much on stars, so things weren't looking so hot now. For some reason, on my next Boo space, I decided to take coins from Peach instead of Mario. I have no idea why I did this. I'm guessing I just misinputted because moving up and down menus is super touchy with the speed. I'm not sure. On the next turn, DK stole coins from Mario and even the coin distribution quite a bit. This would be kind of nice if I also had 5 stars or more, but my odds of winning are looking pretty small considering there's only a few turns left. But then it came down to the very end. DK got the game star, which means I had no chance of winning because he needed to get 0 stars and I needed 2. I did get the happening star at least, but that doesn't mean much because I wasn't able to win, which is really too bad. But I'm not going to give up that easily. This time, I wanted to try Wario's Battle Canyon. There's more chance time spaces, which means more attempts at star and coin swaps, which I'm desperately going to need. Shockingly, I was the first one to get the star, although I set the game to 50 turns again, so a lot can still change. On the next turn, Yoshi stole my star. Like, I can't believe that happened so early on, but I guess that's just how it be. Although by some miracle, I didn't completely botch Facelift. I grabbed both eyebrows and at the last second squeezed out 93 points with which was just enough to avoid losing coins to Bowser. I also discovered that Whack-A-Plant is the best minigame because I can make as many mistakes as I want and still get at least a handful of coins. With all my coins built up, I had my revenge and got my star back from Yoshi. I mean, it had my name on it and everything, I just had to get it back, you know? A turn after that, I got Chance Time and managed to nab 30 coins from the Red Plumber himself. That wasn't even the best part. Mario landed on Chance Time, got a coin swap, and managed to get me even more coins. I feel so bad for this dinosaur. It was like this with the last Mario Party Challenge video too. Another crazy moment happened. I actually won Tipsy Tourney. I'm not impressed about like winning, I'm just impressed I actually hit all the squares to begin with. At about the halfway point, everyone has a good amount of coins and the stars are fairly evened out. This is a good sign that the coin economy is already pretty high. Although Wario stole 2 stars of mine in one turn, that definitely annoyed me a bit. Later on, I stole another star from Yoshi, but this mad lad has 179 coins, and believe me, that's just child's play for him. Because just a few turns later, Yoshi has a whopping 260 coins. I don't think I've ever seen that many in my entire life, and I've played hundreds of thousands of hours of Mario Party 1. And lucky for me, I got a coin swap with Yoshi and stole all of those coins. I genuinely feel so bad for the guy. I've done nothing but mutilate his coins and star this whole game. But karma eventually struck back, as Wario made Yoshi and I swap stars, so that's a bummer, but with this many coins, I have a lot of options. I immediately got to work. With Boo, I stole a star from Yoshi and was lined up for another star right after. After getting that star, I was back in the lead with 171 coins, feeling like a damn king. But now, all of us had coins to steal stars, so I had to be really careful who to steal from. Obviously, Wario made the most sense here, but I could be in huge trouble being the main target now. It was now or never though. I don't think I'm getting another lead like this again. And as expected, Yoshi stole my star back, and I don't blame him for the crap that I've put him through. Thankfully, Wario barely didn't have enough money to steal a star, so he took some of Mario's coins instead. I ended up buying another star, putting myself 2 ahead of everyone else, which is just what I needed to survive the bonus stars at the end. The last turn wasn't very eventful, so now for the moment of truth. The game star went to Mario, which means I win, the coin star Yoshi, and the happening star to me, Mario, and Wario. So yes, it is indeed possible to beat Mario Party while playing at 10,000% speed.